they'll come back. No, really. This guy's incredible. He writes for College Humor. Everybody that you've heard of, you will have seen him, and he has an incredible monthly variety show. It's the first Monday of every month at UCB East, called the Nat Towsen Downtown Variety Hour. Nice. Please welcome to the stage, Nat Towsen.
Nobody wants to be a comedian. Up next, a comedian! Everyone has delusions of grandeur and would love to be a singer, for example. You know, they actually booked me after hearing my voice on the subway and getting on the train faster. I'm not Jewish, you were wrong. Good guess, but I see why you were thinking. I do look like this. I'm doing stand-up comedy, and I can play the clarinet, so you did the right math. I'm not Jewish, but I am still nervous. Like, if they start rounding up the Jews again, which is a real possibility these days, not to bum you out, but if they start rounding up the Jews again, they're coming for me. Like, I'm not getting off on the old not Jewish technicality. They would trick me in seconds. It'd take one question. There'd be no follow-ups. I'd be like, all right, Jews, let's go. And I'd be like, actually, I play the clarinet. I see where you're coming from. And they'd be like, all right, come on, you're not Jewish? And I'd be like, no, seriously, I'm not Jewish. And they'd be like, really? What do you think of the Carnegie Deli? And I'd be like, it's a little pricey. And they'd be like, all right, let's go. Come on, no follow-up questions. And I gotta watch out for the reverse of that too, right? I gotta be careful I don't create anti-Semites in my daily life. Because like, for all I know, I'm walking down the street, there's a borderline anti-Semite walking next to me on the sidewalk. Like, he thinks he might hate Jews, but he's not sure yet. And then here's me talking to someone else, and I'm like, I don't think my therapist talks to his therapist about me enough. And he's like, wow, maybe we do need to do something about the Jew problem. I'm saying, I gotta watch out, you know? Can't create anti-Semites. Are you guys anti-Semites? Did I just actually do that by accident? I'm like that though. I hyperanalyze everything. I'm a huge nitpicker. I will pick anything apart to the point where I can no longer enjoy it. I remember the first time I ever did that, I was 4 years old and I was obsessed with the Berenstain Bears. For the unfamiliar, other than Jillian clearly knows what I'm talking about. Berenstain Bears is a series of children's books about a family of bears, mama, papa, brother, sister. Were created so that white parents don't have to talk to their kids about issues. It's like peer pressure? Ooh, that's a tough one. Let's let the bears tackle that. So obviously my parents had me read a lot of them. And I was so into it. Like, every Berenstain Bear book I now know as an adult, every Berenstain Bear book has the exact same plot. Brother and sister get into some typical suburban trouble. Like, they get bullied, or they watch too much TV, or they cook meth. Papa tries to solve a problem and makes it worse, and Mama solves the problem using her unemployed wisdom. Because it's like 1970s liberal. It's like, Mama doesn't have a job, but she sure sorted out that whole bullying thing. They're like, oh, a woman did something. Does that challenge your assumptions? Meanwhile, they have money trouble in every other Berenstain Bear book. She could just get a job, but good job in the whole bullying thing. Anyway, so I'm obsessed with these Berenstain Bear books as a kid, right? And until one day I find the loose thread that ruins the Berenstain Bears for me forever. I'm reading the Berenstain Bears Go to the Doctor. And in this book, sister has broken her arm. She's got it in a cast. Brother is signing it, and so far, I can still see this picture in my head. So far, he has written B-R-O-T-H. I looked at that, and I looked at my mom. I looked back at the picture, and I was like, Mom, what is he writing on her cast? And she said, he's writing his name. And I said, hold the fuck up. I'm paraphrasing. But it was something of that sentiment. I said, hold up, his name is Brother? My mom was like, yeah, what's wrong with that? And for the first of what would become thousands of times throughout my life, I said, I'll tell you what's wrong with that. I said, Mom, first things first, he is 2 years older than sister. What kind of sickos name their only child Brother? Or was he the only one from the litter that survived? I'm sorry, bears were born 2 and 3 at a time. That's just science. It's true. Second of all, thank you. It is funny. Second of all, I agree with you. I did want to do this with my life. And okay, second of all, mom, fictional. We're still in the story. Second of all, how lucky were they that second kid was a girl? They were locked into that name scheme already. What would they have done if that second kid was a boy? My beautiful son, your name will be tough break, kid. It's also brother. Nothing we can do about it at this point. Third of all, what kind of person names their baby girl Mama, for that matter? It's arguably worse, right? Like, if someone hands you a newborn baby and you're like, what's up, Mama? They should just take that away immediately. Just be like, sorry, legally it goes up for adoption if you do that. There's a law. And fourth of all, what are the odds, since we know that these are their legal Christian names, what are the odds that Mama fell in love with a guy whose legal first name is Papa? Doesn't that strike you as, like, remarkably unlikely? Like, you know, she was dating some guy named Chris or whatever, and they broke up. Her friends were all like, you have to meet this guy. And she's like, what, does he have a good job or something? And so she's like, no, he's a carpenter, but he lives in a tree, even though he doesn't cut it down and build a house. It doesn't make sense, I know. But he has a garbage first name like you do. You two could get together and continue the cycle of abuse. And they did. I know this seems like a crazy thing to have been mad about as a 4-year-old, but they have a cousin whose name is Freddie. Like, real names exist in this universe. Anyway, that's why I'm an atheist. It's not the God thing, I just can't handle an inconsistent narrative. I do know that this is not a good way to be, though, in case you were curious. Like, I know this isn't a good way to live your life. Like, I know it's going to eventually destroy me, and I'll tell you, I had an experience recently that made me realize that I shouldn't be such a nitpicker. I was taking the bus because I'm wealthy, and I was on the bus, and the bus did this thing that it does often. Those of us savvy bus riders know that it happens every so often. Bus pulled over at a stop. Announcer got on the loudspeaker, and she said, we're going to be stopping here for a couple of minutes. We're ahead of schedule. And this happens, right? Because the bus goes by the schedule, so people follow the schedule, and the bus leaves before the schedule, they miss their bus. It's normal. It happens. Everyone on the bus is like, it happens. We get it. Except for one guy, right? He's in the back of the bus, he like pops up out of his chair. And he's wearing like Nikes, jeans, a black t-shirt, and a leather jacket, glasses. He's a pretty tall white guy with brown hair. And just what he looked like. And he's like 10 or 15 years older than me. And he's got his phone out, and as he like beelines for the driver, I see that on his phone he's got the app that shows you via GPS where all the buses are. And he's walking up to the driver, and he's like, you gotta move this bus. You got another bus coming up right behind you. The next bus in front of you is 5 miles away. But the other bus right here, people who need this bus, they'll just get the next bus. And he's like, gets up to the driver, and he's like getting in her face about it. She's like, hey, I'm just doing my job. I go by the schedule. And that's when he goes too far, right? He goes, oh, you must be new. Nobody does that. I've been taking this bus for 15 years. And everyone on the bus is like, what an asshole. And I'm like, what an asshole, because I want to be people. But in my head, I'm like, but he's not wrong. They should stagger the buses. Like, these people could get the bus that's 2 blocks behind us, right? Like, that's not crazy. But he's, like, really getting to her face about it. And he's like, I've been taking this bus for 15 years. You got to move this bus. And I'm like, okay, this is too much. Now he's just being rude. Someone's got to say something. So I, like, get up out of my seat and I go, hey, man. And I hadn't really planned anything to say after that. So I just said, you gave it a shot. Which I thought was kind. That's what I said out loud. But what I desperately wanted to say to him, what I was screaming inside my head but couldn't let out, was just, how can I stop myself from becoming you? Did you hear how I described this man? He was wearing Nikes, jeans, a leather jacket. And for all I know, that was me from the future. Just like come back to warn me via demonstration. Like, oh, you think you got the nitpicking thing under control now, you think it's real funny. Like, well, maybe your girlfriend breaks up with you, stand-up comedy doesn't work out. The bus schedule is going to get very important. All right, I'm Nat Towsen. You guys are awesome. Thanks so much.